The exile's discovery, the signal from the Void Commander, Alina Vasquez, pressed her palm against the cold metal wall of the observation deck, watching stars flicker beyond the reinforced viewport. The horizon's edge drifted silently through the Kepler void, humanity's prison among the stars. For 15 years, this empty region of space had been their home, their exile, their reminder of how quickly trust could turn to fear. The communication panel behind her crackled to life, breaking the eternal silence. "Commander, you need to see this," came the voice of Dr. Marcus Chen, his usual calm replaced by something Alina hadn't heard in years. Urgency. Alina moved through the ship's narrow corridors, past the hydroponics bays where earth vegetables grew under artificial suns, past the workshops where human ingenuity had kept their small fleet operational without coalition support. The horizon's edge wasn't the largest ship in their exile fleet, but it was home to humanity's best minds, the ones who had been branded as dangerous by the Galactic Coalition. In the research bay, Dr. Chen stood before a massive holographic display, his weathered face illuminated by streams of data. Beside him, Captain Zara al-Rashid leaned against a console, her pilot's jacket hanging loose over her slight frame. Both looked as if they hadn't slept in days. "What am I looking at?" Alina asked, studying the complex waveforms dancing across the display. "Something that shouldn't exist," Chen replied, his fingers dancing across the controls. 3 days ago, our deep space sensors picked up this signal from the galactic rim. At first, we thought it was just cosmic background radiation, but the pattern is too organized, too purposeful." The display shifted, showing a 3-dimensional map of the galaxy. A small red dot pulsed at the very edge, beyond even the Coalition's farthest outposts. "It's moving," Zara observed, her dark eyes tracking the dot's slow progress inward. "Whatever it is, it's heading toward inhabited space." Alina studied the data streams, her mind working through the implications. As a former Coalition officer, she understood the significance of signals from unexplored regions. But as the leader of humanity's exile, she also understood that the Coalition would never listen to their warnings. "The weight of history tell me about the exile again," Chen said quietly, though they all knew the story by heart. Elena's jaw tightened as she remembered standing in the Coalition assembly, wearing the uniform she'd earned through 20 years of faithful service. The charges had been simple: unauthorized research into ancient technologies, violation of the preservation protocols, and the unforgivable sign of asking too many questions about the galaxy's past. The Coalition discovered our archaeological teams had been studying the ruins on Zarian Prime, Alina said, her voice steady despite the old anger. "We found evidence of a previous galactic civilization, one that had been wiped out completely. We tried to share our findings, to warn them that something had destroyed an entire galaxy-spanning empire." Zara snorted. "And they called us fear and conspiracy theorists. Worse," Alina continued. "They declared human curiosity a threat to galactic stability. Admiral Korvac personally signed the exile order, stating that humanity's reckless pursuit of forbidden knowledge endangered all civilized species." The hologram flickered, drawing their attention back to the present threat. The signal had grown stronger, and now secondary readings were appearing across the display. Alina Chen's voice was barely a whisper. "This matches the energy signatures we found in the Zarian ruins. The ancient terror awakens for 3 days." They analyzed the data, cross-referencing it with the forbidden research that had led to their exile. The pattern that emerged chilled Alina to her core. The signal wasn't just moving toward inhabited space, it was consuming everything in its path. "Show me the latest readings," Alina commanded. The holographic display expanded, revealing a growing void where star systems used to exist. Not destroyed, not exploded, simply gone, as if they had never existed at all. "The Kepler 442 system vanished 12 hours ago," Chen reported, his academic composure finally cracking. 7 billion inhabitants across 4 worlds. No distress. Signals. No debris. Nothing. It's like they were erased from existence. Elena's hands trembled as she gripped the console. This was the nightmare scenario they had tried to prevent 15 years ago. The ancient enemy they had discovered evidence of on Zarian Prime was real, and it was coming. "We have to warn them," Zara said, though her tone suggested she already knew the futility of the gesture. Alina activated the long-range communications array, broadcasting on all coalition frequencies. Her message was simple and direct. "This is Commander Alina Vasquez of the Human Exile Fleet. We have detected an approaching threat of unprecedented magnitude. The Kepler 442 system has been completely destroyed. We believe this is connected to the ancient civilization we tried to warn you about 15 years ago. Please respond." The reply came within hours, transmitted from the coalition capital world of Zentari Prime. Admiral Korvac's face appeared on the screen, older now, but still radiating the same arrogant authority that had condemned humanity. "Commander Vasquez," he said, the title dripping with disdain. "Your exile has apparently not cured you of your tendency toward wild speculation. The Coalition's sensors show no anomalous activity in the Kepler region. We will not be manipulated by human fear-mongering again." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Alina staring at a blank screen. "Gathering evidence, they'll never believe us based on sensor readings alone," Chen said, breaking the tense silence. "We need physical evidence, something undeniable." Alina turned to Zara. "How close can you get us to the affected region?" The pilot consulted her charts, running calculations on the navigational computer. "The Defiant Hope is our fastest stealth ship. I can get us to the edge of the disruption zone, but if this thing is as dangerous as we think, we'll take the risk," Alina decided. "Dr. Chen, prepare your equipment. We're going to document whatever did this." The Defiant Hope was humanity's greatest achievement in exile, a ship built from salvaged coalition technology and human innovation. Its experimental stealth systems could render it nearly invisible to conventional sensors, allowing it to operate in hostile territory. As they approached the coordinates where Kepler 442 had once existed, the ship's instruments began registering impossible readings. Space itself seemed twisted, reality bent into shapes that violated fundamental physics. There, Chen pointed to the main display. "Do you see it?" Alina squinted at the screen, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. At first, it looked like empty space, but gradually she began to perceive something massive moving through the void. It wasn't a ship or a creature in any conventional sense. It was more like a living shadow, a tear in the fabric of space itself. "The Void Shepherds," Chen whispered, referencing the ancient texts they had found on Zarian Prime. The inscriptions called them the Shepherds of Emptiness, entities that consume entire realities to feed their existence. The ship shuddered as they passed through the edge of the disruption field. Alina watched in horror as the readings showed space-time itself being unraveled, matter and energy being absorbed into the approaching darkness. "We're getting detailed scans," Chen reported, his voice tight with concentration. "This should be enough to convince even the Coalition." But as they turned to leave, the sensors detected something else, more signals, coming from different directions. Elena's blood ran cold as she realized the truth. "It's not just one," she said. "There are dozens of them, maybe hundreds, all converging on inhabited space." The first warning back aboard the Horizon's Edge, Elena stood before the assembled representatives of humanity's exile fleet. Scientists, engineers, former military officers, and civilians who had chosen to follow their loved ones into the void. Of them listening as she explained the magnitude of the threat they faced. "The ancient enemy we discovered on Prime is real," she announced. "They're called the Void Shepherds, and they're systematic destroyers of galactic civilizations. Our estimates suggest they'll reach Coalition space within months, maybe weeks, and the Coalition still won't listen," asked Dr. Sarah Kim, the chief medical officer. Elena shook her head. "Admiral Korvac dismissed our warning as propaganda. He believes we're trying to manipulate our way back into the Coalition's good graces. So what do we do?" The question came from Captain Torres, commander of the escort vessel New Horizon. Elena looked around the room at the faces of her people, humans who had sacrificed everything for the pursuit of knowledge and truth. They had been cast out for asking the right questions, and now those questions had led them to a terrible answer. "We do what we've always done," she said. "We find a way to save everyone, whether they want our help or not." The approaching storm over the following days, the reports became increasingly dire. More star systems vanished without trace. The Void Shepherds moved with terrifying efficiency, consuming everything in their path, while leaving no evidence of their passage except emptiness. Elena sent message after message to the Coalition, each one more desperate than the last. She transmitted the sensor data, the historical analysis, even the original findings from Zarian Prime. All were met with silence or outright rejection. Asterisk. "They think we're trying to trick them," Zara said bitterly. "They can't conceive that we might actually be trying to save their lives." "Pride," Elena replied. "The Coalition's greatest strength has always been unity, but that unity is built on the belief that they know best. Admitting we were right would mean admitting they were catastrophically wrong." The breakthrough came when Dr. Chen detected a Coalition survey ship, the Scientific Endeavour, conducting routine research near the Galactic Rim. The ship was crewed by scientists rather than military personnel, and Elena saw an opportunity. "If we can get one Coalition vessel to witness the Void Shepherds directly," she reasoned, "they might convince the others." It was a dangerous plan. Approaching a Coalition vessel would expose them to arrest or destruction, but Elena knew they were running out of time. The Void Shepherds were accelerating, drawn by some unknown force toward the galaxy's most populated regions. "I'll take the Defiant Hope," Zara volunteered. "If anyone can get close enough to transmit a warning without being blown out of space, it's me." Elena gripped her friend's shoulder. "Make them understand, Zara. Make them see what's coming." As the stealth ship departed, Elena watched from the observation deck, knowing that humanity's fate and perhaps the fate of all life in the galaxy depended on one desperate pilot and a message that might never be believed. The stars seemed dimmer now, as if the approaching darkness was already beginning to devour the light. Elena pressed her palm against the viewport again and whispered a prayer to whatever force might still be listening. "Please," she said to the void, "let them listen this time." Part 2. The final broadcast. The Coalition's Awakening. Captain Zara Aroshid guided the Defiant Hope through the sensor shadows near the Coalition survey ship, her hands steady despite the magnitude of what she was attempting. The Scientific Endeavour hung in space like a gleaming monument to Coalition engineering. Its research arrays extended toward a nearby nebula. Coalition vessel. This is the independent ship Defiant Hope, she transmitted on an emergency frequency. I have critical information regarding an approaching threat to all galactic life. Please respond. The reply came swiftly, professional but wary. Unknown vessel. This is Commander Vex Norvani of the Coalition Survey Service. You are in restricted space. Identify yourself and state your intentions. Zara took a deep breath. Commander, I'm transmitting sensor data that will save your life and the lives of everyone in Coalition space. Please examine the attached files. Minutes passed in tense silence. Zara knew that Norvani would be running the data through every security protocol, checking for viruses or deception. Finally, the commander's voice returned, different now in certain. These readings, they can't be accurate. You're showing entire star systems simply ceasing to exist. It's real, Commander. We've seen it firsthand. There's an ancient force moving through the galaxy, consuming everything in its path. The Coalition needs to prepare for evacuation or defend something, anything. Wait, Norvani's voice carried a note of recognition. You're human. The exiles from the Kepler void. Zara's heart sank. Yes, but that doesn't matter now. What matters is, this is some kind of elaborate deception, Norvani interrupted. The humans were exiled for exactly this kind of fear-mongering. End transmission. The communication channel closed, leaving Zara alone in the darkness between stars. She was about to turn away when her senses detected something that made her blood freeze. A section of space near the Coalition ship was beginning to distort. The Void Shepherds arrive, Commander Norvani. This is Defiant Hope. Zara screamed into the come. Check your sensors. It's here. The Coalition ship's response was immediate alarms, emergency transmissions, and the desperate whine of engines spinning up to full power. But it was too late. The Void Shepherd emerged from the fabric of space itself, a living absence that hurt to perceive directly. It wasn't black, it was the complete absence of light, matter, and meaning. As it approached the scientific endeavor, the Coalition ship began to unravel at the molecular level. My God, Norvani's voice came through the cum, filled with terror and sudden understanding. What is that thing? The end of everything, Zara replied, watching helplessly as the Coalition vessel was consumed. Unless we stop it. The Void Shepherd paused in its feeding, as if sensing the Defiant Hope's presence. For a moment that lasted eternity, Zara felt her consciousness touched by something vast and alien, a mind that had existed since the universe was young. You are not prey, a voice echoed in her thoughts. You are shepherds, like us. Why do you warn the prey? The contact broke, leaving Zara gasping and shaken. But she had learned something crucial. The Void Shepherds were intelligent, and they recognized humanity as different from the other species. The question was, why? Returned to the fleet, Alina met Zara at the docking bay, taking one look at her friend's pale face and knowing that something had changed. They saw it, Zara reported. Commander Norvani and his entire crew. The Void Shepherd consumed them in minutes, but not before he transmitted a warning to Coalition High Command. Will they listen now? Alina asked. They have to. But Alina, there's something else. The Void Shepherd, ... it spoke to me. It recognized us as something different. Alina led Zara to the research bay, where Dr. Chen was analyzing the latest data streams. The holographic display showed the galaxy as a web of light slowly being consumed by expanding nodes of darkness. They're accelerating, Chen reported grimly. At this rate, they'll reach the core worlds within days. not weeks. Alina studied the tactical display, her mind working through possibilities. As a former coalition officer, she understood military strategy, but this was beyond conventional warfare. How do you fight an enemy that exists outside the normal rules of physics? Dr. Chen, in all your research on Zarian Prime, did you find any evidence of successful resistance to the Void Shepherds? The scientist shook his head. The Zarian civilization was incredibly advanced, far beyond current coalition technology. If they couldn't stop the Shepherds, I don't see how we can. But they tried, Alina pressed. There must be records of their final attempt. Chen pulled up archived data from their forbidden research. There are fragmentary records of something called the Final Broadcast Protocol. The Zarians gathered every ship, every station, every communication array they had, and transmitted a simultaneous signal across the entire galaxy. What kind of signal? That's what we never figured out. The records are too damaged. But whatever it was, it cost them everything. Their entire civilization burned out their technology in a single moment. Alina felt a cold certainty settling in her stomach. They weren't trying to destroy the Void Shepherds. They were trying to warn someone. The Coalition's desperation, the emergency transmission, reached the exile fleet 18 hours later. Admiral Korbach's image appeared on their screens, but the arrogant authority was gone, replaced by desperate fear. "Commander Vasquez," he began, the words clearly costing him. "The Coalition formally requests assistance from the human exile fleet. Our defensive measures have proven ineffective against the entities you warned us about." Alina looked around at her senior staff. After 15 years of exile, the Coalition was finally admitting they needed humanity's help. "What are you offering?" she asked. "Full reinstatement of human citizenship," Korbach replied. "Access to all Coalition resources and technology. Command authority over joint defensive operations. And if we refuse," Korbach's image flickered as another star system vanished from the galactic map behind him, "then we all die together." Alina muted the transmission and turned to her people. "Opinions. It's a trap," said Captain Torres immediately. "The moment this crisis is over, they'll find another excuse to exile us." "Maybe," Alina agreed. "But if we don't help, there won't be anyone left to exile us." Double quotes, Dr. Chen cleared his throat. "Commander, I think I understand what the Zarians were trying to do. The Final Broadcast Protocol wasn't a weapon, it was a message. But not to the Void Shepherds. Then to whom? To us. To whoever came after them. They were leaving instructions." The final gambit. Alina reopened the channel to Admiral Korbach. "We accept your request for assistance, Admiral. But we do this our way." Over the next 6 hours, Alina outlined humanity's desperate plan. Every ship in the exile fleet would be converted into a mobile broadcast station. They would coordinate with Coalition vessels across the galaxy, creating a network capable of transmitting a single, unified signal to every corner of known space. "What exactly are we broadcasting?" Korbach demanded. "The truth," Alina replied. "About the Void Shepherds, about the cycle of galactic destruction, and about the choice every species faces when the darkness comes." "That's insane. How is a radio message supposed to stop these things?" "It's not," Alina admitted. "The message isn't for the Shepherds, it's for whoever comes next. If we fail, if every civilization in this galaxy is consumed, the next cycle of sapient life will find our warning, and maybe, just maybe, they'll be better prepared." The preparation took 12 hours humanity didn't have. The Void Shepherds had consumed a third of Coalition space, and their advance seemed unstoppable. But Elena's people worked with the desperate efficiency that had kept them alive in exile. The Horizon's edge was converted into the primary broadcast node, its communication arrays boosted beyond safe parameters. Every other human ship became a relay station, creating a network that spanned light years. "We'll only get one chance," Dr. Chen warned. "The power requirements will burn out every transmitter we have. After this, we'll be deaf and blind." Alina nodded, settling into the commander's chair for what might be the last time. Around her, the bridge crew worked at their stations, humans, who had followed her into exile and now followed her into what might be extinction. "All stations report ready," Zara announced from the pilot's position. "Coalition forces are in position," added the communications officer. Alina took a deep breath and opened channels to every human ship, every Coalition vessel, every inhabited world that could still receive transmissions. "This is Commander Alina Vasquez to all galactic civilization," she began. 15 years ago, humanity was exiled for asking dangerous questions about our galaxy's past. Today, those questions have revealed a terrible truth. The message the broadcast that followed lasted exactly 17 minutes. Alina spoke of the Void Shepherds, of the cycle of destruction that had consumed previous galactic civilizations, and of the choice that faced every sapient species: to grow beyond their petty conflicts and unite against the darkness, or to remain divided and face extinction. "The Zarian civilization tried to warn us," she continued. "They burned out their entire technological base to leave us a message. And we almost missed it because we were too proud to listen to uncomfortable truths." As she spoke, Alina could see the tactical display showing the Void Shepherds' continued advance. 3 more systems vanished during her broadcast, billions of lives snuffed out in an instant. To the Coalition species listening to this message, "Humanity bears you no ill will for our exile. We understand that fear makes people do terrible things. But today, we stand united against an enemy that threatens all life in our galaxy." The transmission reached every inhabited world, every space station, every ship fleeing the advancing darkness. For the first time in galactic history, every sapient being heard the same message simultaneously. "And to whoever finds this message in the ruins of our civilization," Alina concluded, "know that we tried. We saw the darkness coming, and we chose to face it together rather than die alone. Learn from our mistakes. Do better than we did." The unexpected response as the final words of Elena's broadcast faded. Something unprecedented happened. The Void Shepherds stopped. Across the galaxy, the advancing entities of living darkness paused in their consumption. For a moment that stretched across space and time, absolute silence fell over the galaxy. Then, slowly, the Void Shepherds began to withdraw. "They're leaving," Dr. Chen said in wonderment, watching the sensor readings with disbelief. "They're actually leaving." Alina stared at the displays, not daring to believe what she was seeing. "Why? What changed?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Commander Vex, Norvani's voice emerged from the communication array, transmitted from a Coalition research station. "Commander Vasquez, this is Norvani. I survived the attack on my ship. The Void Shepherd released me at the last moment. I think they were testing us." "Testing us how?" "To see if we could overcome our divisions when faced with extinction. The Zerians failed that test. They remained fractured even as they were destroyed. But today, for the first time, every species in the galaxy heard the same message and chose to stand together. Alina felt tears streaming down her face as the full implication hit her. The Void Shepherds weren't just destroyers. They were gardeners, pruning away civilizations that couldn't grow beyond their limitations. And today came Admiral Korvax's voice, humble for the first time in Elena's memory. Humanity showed us how to grow. Legacy 6 months later, Elena stood in the same observation deck where her journey had begun, but everything had changed. The horizon's edge was now docked at Unity Station, the galaxy's first truly integrated facility where human, coalition, and dozens of other species worked side by side. The exile was over. More than that, the divisions that had defined galactic civilization for millennia were beginning to heal. The shared experience of facing extinction had forced every species to recognize their common ground. "Commander," came a voice behind her. Alina turned to see Admiral Korvax approaching, no longer in coalition uniform, but wearing the simple jumpsuit of the new Galactic Unity Council. "Actually, it's just Alina now," she replied. "I resigned my commission. Too much to do rebuilding. To worry about military rank." Korvax nodded, moving to stand beside her at the viewport. "The Council has approved the new exploration protocol. Every survey mission will include representatives from at least 3 species, and all findings will be shared immediately." "No more forbidden knowledge," Alina agreed. "No more dangerous questions." They stood in comfortable silence, watching ships from dozens of worlds coming and going from the station. Humanity's exile had ended not with forgiveness, but with recognition. Acknowledgement that diversity of thought was not a threat to stability, but its foundation. "Do you think they'll come back?" Korvax asked. "The Void Shepherds." Alina considered the question. "I think they're always out there, waiting, but not as destroyers, as teachers. The next time they come, we'll be ready." As if in response to her words, a new signal appeared on the long-range sensors, not threatening, but curious. Somewhere in the galactic rim, another young civilization was taking its first steps into space. Alina smiled and turned from the viewport. There was work to do, species to contact, and unity to build. The galaxy was vast and full of possibilities, and for the first time in 15 years, humanity was not alone in exploring them. The last warning had become the first greeting, and the future belonged to all of them together. Asterisk.